Welcome, new and old friends. My name is 242, and tonight 42 got us one story. So, turn off your lights, make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I patted my friend on the back, glad that he was with me in the cave of horror. Only when I felt the rotten flesh beneath my hand did I remember I don't have any friends. The unsolved case of the Red Creek town. The case that I never intended to solve. By GlumSilence. Being a detective is not an easy job. Not to say that other jobs are easy, but our job carries a lot of weight with it. And by weight, I mean all the guilt, the sadness, the weepy melancholy, and the rigid stress that sometimes haunts us. We endlessly try to uncover cases. Sometimes we discover clues, and other times we only have a dead end to greet us. I don't know when it occurred to me, but all this time, I had slowly become tired of everything. I think that I was mentally exhausted, and trust me, it is way worse than being physically worn out. Honestly, you can push through the limits of your body with a strong will, but no amount of effort would help you if your mind doesn't allow you to move. Eventually, these days jumbled by, and seeing my dilapidated condition, my wife soon recommended that I apply for a transfer to some more desolate area or any place that wouldn't have too many problems hounding me. I complied with her request, and since it was my own wishes too, I reasoned to myself, it's not like I'm running away or anything. A little rest, some me time, is all I need. That's the only thing that drove me, or at least I felt that way. I need a little rest. We all do. You know, sometimes we are burnt out after trying too hard, then it's better to take a breather once in a while. I talked to the chief next day. Being the kindest the department ever had, he listened to my whole story calmly. The chief was a stout old man nearing retirement, and his deep gray eyes always found a way to calm those who talked to him. He looked at me and gave me an assuring smile. Well, son, I have always told you young people to never push yourself too hard. He took a pause and looked straight into my eyes. After all, life is like a dream sometimes. No need to take it too seriously. His eyes moved away as he laughed. After some scrolling through his desktop, he decided that I could go to a nearby place called Red Creek Town? Well, that's weird. I never heard of it ever before, I thought to myself as I tried hard to recall if such a place even existed. The chief, not catching my confusion, told me I could go there under a guise of re-examining a case that has long since been closed. This way I could have a long vacation and nobody would notice. Personally, I know that this wasn't morally or ethically correct, but I wasn't really in the state to be kind or concerned about it at all. The next day, I took out my pitch black LS6 Chevelle, and since I was feeling more myself, being a little more in the mood, I decided to wear a pitch black suit with a red tie. Well, that's a little pretentious of you, honey. My wife mocked me in a joking manner as she leaned across the doorway. Well, might as well dress the part of a genius detective while I'm at it. I joked with her as I gave her a quick hug and strode out with my luggage. Clad in black and in my old muscle car, I rode into the wind, blasting music all the way, feeling the cool air on my face as I drove. The symphony of songs ran through my soul, and finally, I was at peace. The road started to become more and more desolate as time passed. I drove on for a few hours as I continued along the unknown road. That's weird. It shouldn't be this long. By that time, it was already evening and the sky had turned dark. Despite this, the unusual situation didn't bother me long because soon enough I came across a signboard. Rustic and old, the letters were a little hard to read. Welcome to the Red Leak Town. I chuckled a little. Some kid had apparently removed the C and put an L instead with black paint. Not that I got the humor, but the prank in itself managed to tickle me a little. Driving past it, I soon reached the main area and the central road. The houses were scattered all about with a single conspicuous gas station beside the road. I stopped by it, planning to talk to the folk here and refill my car. Halting myself before I could get out, I reached out to the dashboard to take out my .44 Magnum revolver with me. Once again, I stopped. What are you doing? You are not on an investigation here. Acknowledging myself, I got out of the car as I directly strolled inside the gas station. It was, a little old-fashioned. Is anybody here? I shouted. Sounds of footsteps came from the back room as a young woman in her late 20s strolled inside. She had dark hair, a not too noticeable face, and a small frame. She wore a long blue single-piece dress. Well, that's new for a shopkeeper, I thought to myself. She looked me up and down, seemingly surprised at seeing a new face around here, and then, as one would expect to hear, something like, "What do you need? Look around if you need something, or anything else." Instead, she directly spoke to me in a hushed tone. "Leave. You shouldn't be here." Moving directly in front of me and wildly swaying her head as if to refuse my existence in front of her. Now, I was surprised, but instinctively, my long years of experience kicked in and I asked her, playing along. "I was just planning to leave, actually." I stopped as I casually put my next statement forward. I swallowed my words back into my mouth as I saw her completely becoming still, staring at me. Flicker, flicker. The lights went out. Damn, I thought to myself as everything had turned dark, only with a little light trickling through the headlights of my vehicle. I couldn't see her clearly anymore. Her face was now melded in darkness. Abruptly, she started walking backwards with her head facing me. The dread was building inside of me. Any moment I expected her to attack. I braced myself, but she continued walking backwards slowly as she vanished into the darkness. "What in the world?" I exclaimed out loud, being shocked. Quickly turning around, I planned to leave. I strode out. The dim light of the town had started to change as the moonlight finally trickled in to illuminate the surroundings. The road was covered in red. No, it would be more accurate to say that the houses, the walls, and the other buildings were oozing some sort of red substance. Now, despite me having more than average courage, the scene in front of me terrified me. But this wasn't the time to be scared. I needed to know what the hell was happening. Running back inside my car, I took out a file. It was the case file that I thought I would never open. The case statement was somewhat like this. The Red Creek Lake Incident. In the early 2000s, an incident took place in this town. The water source of this town was poisoned, and consequently, a lot of people died while others were severely traumatized by the same. The police department tried to survey and did a lot of searching, but no perpetrator was ever found. Signed, Wes Smith. I did not really know what to do next until I heard a loud voice shouting, "Help me! Somebody, please!" It was the voice of a young man. A chill ran down my spine, but I wiggled out of the car, taking my gun with me, expecting it to be useful. Suddenly, a weird female laughter ran out. Looking back, I saw the same woman sitting in the back seat of my car, staring at me as she giggled. Ah! This time, it was the voice of an old woman still from the same direction. Breaking out of my stupor, I started to sprint with my full force as I followed the voice through the middle of the town. As I was running towards the voice, I noticed them. People. A lot of them. Cooped up in their houses, staring at me from their windows. What's wrong with them? Honestly, with this situation, I would have left long ago, but with those painful voices... No! The voice of a girl this time. Damn it! I ran harder as I reached the forest side, not stopping even for a moment. I weaved through the trees. Hush. A sound came behind me. No, it isn't only one sound. In fact, many sounds came behind me. As I looked over my shoulder, I almost fell over. If not for my years of training, I would have definitely been drove into inaction. The townspeople, all of them standing behind me, strewn all over, staring at me as they just stood still. This motivated me to run even faster, and soon a lake came into view as I saw a young man was standing. Not only him, a lot of people were just standing there in the lake. That lake. It reflected a weird red color in the moonlight. All the people, all of them had pitch black eyes with bloated skin and kin to someone who had just drowned. With their sickly eyes looking at me, they started to scream in a painful voice as a creepy grin started to form on their faces. Together, they shouted, "Help me!" My legs finally gave out as I sat beside the lake. Fear had paralyzed me. I gave out a muffled scream as I realized that all the townspeople had somehow arrived before the lake. They started to shuffle in slow steps towards me. Looking back, and the people in the river were also reaching out towards me. Surrounded by this horror, I couldn't move at all. But my body didn't want to give up. I managed to take my revolver and... bang! I shot myself in the leg to get some adrenaline in my body as pain shot through my whole leg. Picking myself up, I limped. I crawled. I don't know how I moved, but I managed to reach my car. Nobody pursued me, and the woman wasn't there now. My vision started to dim as I started up the car and drove away. The last thing I remember is driving near the highway of my city as I called my chief, telling him that I'd been shot. Then my consciousness gave out. Blink, blink. I opened my eyes as the hospital roof greeted me. My wife, being scared and panicked, came in and she started to cry and hug me. The head came in behind tottering as he muttered, "Now why in the world would he shoot himself?" The following days, I was discharged and, suspended until a psychiatric evaluation was properly done. Currently, I'm sitting beside my wife as we watch a comedy on the television. I'm having fun, even though I'm a little scared at what happened. But my mental fog is clearing up slowly. Once in a while, I dream that I'm trapped in the Red Creek town, in one of the houses, sitting on the bedside, staring randomly in places. But these episodes have started to slow down with therapy. And, didn't the chief say, life is like a dream? "You're free to go," my kidnapper told me as he opened the door and freed my hands. I couldn't help but notice the trophy plaque with my name on it above the fireplace on my way out. Tell me what you think down below, and also stay for our Sunday word. If you liked this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're a new friend, become an old friend by subscribing and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. On the screen, you can see almost everything related to me, my socials, my Patreon, my podcast, but I have a tree link in the description as well, and it has my merch and a few other things in there. So, on to the Sunday word. So, last week was the word stun, and we're going to go in alphabetical order. First up, Anime Toma. Definitely a favorite story of mine, and you both did brilliantly. Love it. You could say I was stunned. Neehehehe. Love it, anime. Absolutely love it. Arakvi says, I was stunned when I dropped my phone on the floor and a slimy, purple, blubbery hand reached out from beneath my bed and gave it back to me. Well, what I'm hearing is you just have a friend under your bed who is more than willing to give you back your phone and catch it. Don't look too deep into that. You might not like what you see. As the Raven Dreams says, if you ever want to leave me stunned, a taser will do the trick. But please, don't tase me, bro. Okay, Raven, I won't, but I can't promise anything about 42. Derringer says, I find it easier to harvest the organs of my victims if I stun them first. Raven, stay away from Derringer. Also, not wrong. Now, PA Nightmares. The bright colors for the vibrant landscape stunned me into silence. However, as I entered forth and got to my destination, I was once more stunned by the gruesome sight that now littered with corpses. Thank you, PA. That really painted a very gruesome picture for me. Next, Rando Carizian. Rando is stunning. Does that count? No, Rando, not at all. Yeah, of course it does. Thanks, Rando. Raven Investigates. I'm thinking that this story is an absolute classic, and you and Silver did a great job. I was stunned that Silver was able to do a creepy Furby voice as well. Thank you, Raven Investigates, and I agree. It was very stunning how well Silver did that voice. Last but not least, Silver Threads. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou stunned, Romeo? Thank you, Silver. That was harder to say than I would like to admit. So the Sunday word for this week is distance. D-I-S-T-A-N-T. Which means far away in distance or time, or of a person, not intimate, cool, or reserved. Now, if you're on the YouTube, if you'd like to leave me a comment down below with that word, I will feature you on next Sunday's video. If you're on my podcast, go to my Twitter and leave a comment with your sentence on the post with this video link. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. That always means the world. It's really awesome to see how many people watch my videos and listen to them on the podcast. It's really amazing, guys. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.